On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we're going to feature our review of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. We'll start off spoiler-free, and we'll warn you before we dive into our spoiler-filled discussion. Beforehand, we'll break down episode 4 of Marvel's Secret Invasion titled Beloved. We're also going to discuss the news from this week in the world of entertainment, including, but not limited to, Hollywood actors are going on strike. Uh-oh, what's going on? The 2023 Emmy nominations have been announced. Some more Superman Legacy casting updates. Of course, we'll also share our thoughts on the new trailers for Wonka and Ahsoka. As always, use the time codes in the description to jump around to whatever interests you the most. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And take a seat.
Grab some popcorn.
It's time for Tom. Time for Tom.
We butchered that.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
Jimmy, before we talk Mission Impossible and Secret Invasion, let's do the Toms.
Let's do the Toms.
That wasn't unison.
The Toms.
Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of 3 famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw's the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between. Jimmy, let's get to it.
Sweet, Holden.
We've got little things now. We're making this a little bit more visual.
Yeah, I was going to do, when you said that, I was supposed to hold up each one, but then I forgot. Brokaw, Bombadil, Bergeron for our audio only listeners. You could just get to hear this the whole time.
Yeah, it's some paper, nice paper on the microphone. We have these cutout faces on popsicle sticks that we're going to be holding up. That's just an exclusive experience you get with the video.
Yes. So if you are not on the video pod, this is a great reason to do so.
I'm not sure
now.
this is a good reason to, but it just adds to those that do.
Maybe it's a reason not to listen to the audio only, so you don't have to deal with the paper. But here we are, Holden. We got trailers for Wonka and Ahsoka. Let's start with Wonka, which Timothée Chalamet, of course, also the director of Paddington. I don't know the name. I've never seen Paddington.
Paul King, I believe.
Paul King. This looks very whimsical, of course.
Very whimsical. It's very,
whimsical.
very much in line with like the Paddington movies. You can tell it's Paul King. So
Very steampunk as well. It has a lot of, it kind of looks like a Fantastic Beasts movie.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Timothée Chalamet seems to be just chewing the scenery, really just going all in on this. And I think it actually looks kind of cute, I guess. I am not a Willy Wonka fan really at all. I respect what's his name's performance. The guy
Johnny Depp?
No, not Johnny Depp. This is
Gene
terrible.
Wilder.
Gene Wilder. I was like, it's Gene something. He gives a good performance. I've never been a big fan of Willy Wonka.
Sure.
But I think this looks all right. I was trying to figure out, is he like at the Chicago World's Fair? It kind of looks like.
It kind of looks like that, or at least that vibe.
It'd be really funny if H.H. Holmes, the serial killer,
He's just
murdering people.
That's a subplot in it.
Come here, Timothée Chalamet, pretty boy.
My interest in this is mostly just with the Paul King name attached to it, because both Paddington movies that he's directed are really pretty great, and this seems very much in line with that. Like I said, it's a very silly concept. I told you when we were rewatching the trailer that the first time they said chocolate cartel in the trailer, I laughed because it's just so absurd and silly, but I think it will fit quite well.
Yeah, it looks really goofy, but in a good way. I think some of the CGI might be a little wonky and not great just based on what we see in the trailer. But honestly, the movie doesn't seem to take itself to, like, it's just so whimsical. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I think that's kind of in line with his other movies too. I don't think the CG the Paddington himself in those movies looks pretty good, but the other CG is kind of meh, but it's more of it like fits the style, and like it kind of feels like I maybe like a picture book come to life kind of thing. So I think as long as we'll see how it is in the larger context of the movie, but I think it could still work for that. So.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty fun. You got Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Just really, really kind of just
Olivia
spellbound.
Colman's there.
Yeah, Olivia Colman. A lot of good actors and actresses in this. Rowan Atkinson, right?
Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean's in it. And is Keegan-Michael Key in it? I think?
Yeah, I think he's the police officer who comes in.
Don't worry about it. Just people defying the laws.
Yeah, whatever he says.
So, looks fun. I like the silly, ridiculous nature of it. I'm going to give it, Holden, a Tom Brokaw. There we go.
Also give it a Brokaw.
There we go. Now you can play along, sell these online.
Yeah, this will
$50.
This will make it easier
one.
for when sometime in the future someone wants to go archive how many times we say each one.
There you go.
They don't even have to listen to us.
Yeah. which is by rule of thumb is generally a good thing.
Yeah,
not having to listen to us. All right, Holden, Ahsoka time. Ahsoka o'clock. I was gonna make a Willy Wonka joke. I was gonna say, will he or won't he Wonka?
I think he will. He
Willy
Wonka.
That is the question. All right, now it's officially Ahsoka time. Holden, this trailer is very much. It's like, hey, did you watch Rebels? Because if you didn't, who are these people?
Yeah, exactly. It's. I mean, I feel like while we've talked about the shows that's coming out, we've heard like casting these different characters, and at least me when I would read about it, I'm like, okay, I recognize this name from Rebels. I know that obviously Ahsoka was in Rebels and all of that, but this just solidifies that it's basically just a Rebels like live action sequel series kind of thing, which to me is not that interesting. I like Ahsoka, like the character, but I don't know anything about Rebels, and I've heard Rebels is boring, so I don't plan on watching
People
it.
really like Rebels, though. Like, I think Rebels, at least from what I've seen of it, it's got really good moments.
Yeah, I've heard there's good moments, but I think there's some people that like really love Clone Wars that just do not like Rebels, because I think Rebels is generally like regarded as more of a kids show in general. Like it's built, and not that Clone Wars isn't, but built for more of a younger audience with some great moments thrown in there. But yeah,
because like Clone Wars was Cartoon Network, right? And then like Rebels is like Disney XD or something.
Yeah,
which is like
something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. I could be getting that wrong. I think it looks all right. I mean, I was hoping for something more along the lines of like Andor with the political intrigue, and I think Ahsoka is a really interesting character because she is so gray and she kind of critiques a lot of the ways of the Jedi, but while still being really likable and rooting for her and kind of being for the greater good. So I really enjoy her character. I enjoyed her in The Mandalorian season 2. And I'm hoping that they can craft a story around her that has the maturity and the intrigue of something like or even something like Mandalorian season 2, like, and we'll see. I don't know. It's gonna need to be interesting because I don't have an attachment to these characters outside of Ahsoka. I mean, I've heard Thrawn is really cool. I honestly have not read or seen anything with Thrawn in it.
No. Yeah, that's pretty much me too. I've only heard he's cool.
So it's really exciting for the people who like Rebels. I'm hopeful. I was one of my most anticipated TV shows, so we'll see. It's hard to tell because I wasn't a huge fan of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I did like moments of it a lot, specifically the duel at the end. I thought was pretty solid. But I think the rest of that plot-wise wasn't great. But then you have something like Andor where I'm like, holy smokes, this is amazingly well written. Going to come up again when we talk about Emmy nominations. So overall, I'll definitely watch this. I'm looking forward to the 2-episode premiere on August 23rd. But I'm at a Bergeron for this one, Holden.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it too, just because I'm a slave to the Disney machine, Jimmy. But yeah, it's a Bergeron for me too. I mentioned to you the actor's name, I believe, is Ray Stevenson, but he looks to be playing one of the main antagonists in the season. One of these,
I would say the main antagonist.
Probably,
I would assume that Thrawn is not going to be that big of a role in this first season,
because they probably need someone that they can kill, and Thrawn is probably not the one they can kill.
No.
But yeah, he's got like an orange lightsaber or something. Yeah. I don't know what the deal with that is.
Kind of like on like the original A New Hope poster, which I don't have behind me. It's over there. But like Darth Vader's lightsaber's kind of just orangish color.
Oh yeah.
Also doesn't look anything like his actual lightsaber. It looks like a foam sword.
Point. I had never even thought about that. But yeah, as I mentioned to you, Ray Stevenson passed away recently, actually. So I don't know if this is his last role or anything, but yeah, unfortunate. But.
Yeah, he looks like he has a really good presence.
Yeah,
I thought he was like Russell Crowe for a second, honestly.
He's the few things I've seen him in, he's great. He was in one of the pre-MCU Punisher movies called Punisher Warzone, which is really absurd, but I think really entertaining. And he's great as the Punisher in that movie. So
nice.
But yeah. We'll see.
Yeah,
Bergeron.
Sweet. All right, Holden. Let's talk about the actors going on strike. SAG-AFTRA officially joining the writers on strike.
Yes.
So kind of looks like to me when I was reading up on there's kind of two things at play here, at least two main things. One of which is residuals.
Yeah, for streaming. It's similar to what the writers are kind of looking at, it seems. So
yeah. So we have the residuals, and then so like just streaming. It's like, okay, how many, or I should say, like with streaming, those streaming services don't necessarily publish their numbers a ton, so it's not quite clear how much people are actually watching something.
Yeah.
Unlike TV, where it's like, okay, we played it on TV this many times, and I don't even know if the audience kind of factors into that, or this the TV stations pay per time they play it, or whatever. It's very transparent. Whereas this, it's like, it's not like, all right, Disney Plus is showing. It's not a TV channel. It's not like they're just showing, Black Widow right now.
There's no Nielsen. There's no Nielsen ratings for that. So
so it's hard to tell. And the actors, they've just ever since streaming, they've gotten a lot less money from residuals. So it's like, well, there goes a huge chunk of our income that we just don't get anymore because of streaming services. So that needs to change somehow.
Which obviously it's not as big of a deal for like the big actors, but for like everyone else, it's like that's how they make a lot of their money and stuff. Yeah. So they're living. Look at like Jerry Seinfeld.
Seriously, like his entire income is residuals.
That's true.
Like insane.
Yeah. The actress who played Matilda in like the 90s movie, the 90s Matilda movie, she doesn't do a ton of acting anymore, but I saw her post on Twitter that like she's been doing voice acting recently. She did a recurring role in BoJack Horseman. I can't remember who it was. And she was also in the like Big Hero 6 series as like one of the main villains. And she's like, I like can't live off of this, what I'm making for this. It's just like the money is not there. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for these actors.
Yeah. The other big thing is artificial intelligence and recreating or replicating actors in things with or without their permission. So one of the big things that was in this is getting paid a day's worth of work to come in and basically have your likeness scanned into an AI, so they can just use it in whatever they want.
Yeah, they can
without
essentially
your
just
permission.
CG you in as an extra or whatever.
Yeah, and you don't get paid for anything. You just give up your likeness.
Yeah, which that's probably. I mean, I think that SAG-AFTRA is a big union and everything, represents a lot of people, and so that's a big thing that a lot of these people most of these people are probably gonna run into, and it feels very dystopian, kind of, like in my opinion.
Well, someone on Reddit brought up the point that it reminded them of the Nathan For You episode where Nathan Fielder signed young middle school athletes for $10 for their likeness or whatever. So if they become a professional athlete, one day they get all the memorabilia rights and everything, which is hilarious. That's right. He did it as a complete gag, obviously.
Yeah, as a joke for the show.
Now Hollywood's trying to do it for real.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also read, I haven't watched any of the new season yet, but there's a new episode of Black Mirror that apparently is just like this too.
Oh.
So very timely in that regard. But Yeah, no, this is not good. I think this is good that they're trying to at least nip it in the bud here by going on strike when they are. It does. So I wrote down here, this is the first time both guilds have been on strike in the same time in over 60 years, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It is going to completely shut down Hollywood. I think that's completely fair though, because I think these people should be getting paid what they fairly should, and I think they should be.
Don't tell that to Bob Iger.
No, don't tell that to Bob. Yeah, I guess we are working for Disney, aren't we?
Yeah,
we might be getting a little chewing out after this.
Oh
yeah. But yeah, it completely shuts down Hollywood and any like promotional tours for movies. Even like I mean. Obviously, there's still quite a few movies in the pipeline that are finished and can be released, but now these actors aren't even going to be able to like promote them at all or anything.
Yeah, how am I supposed to be hyped for Blue Beetle when there's no actor promotion?
Yeah, that movie is doomed, and this is not going to help it. But yeah, but once again, I think it's completely fair, and I like we got plenty of movies coming out still. I think it seems like these studios think that the strike is going to end in like September, October. I think that means that it's going to keep going into the new year, probably.
We'll see what happens.
Because yeah, I guess it depends on who breaks first, but my guess is the union is going to want to go a bit longer than that. But another thing of note is any productions that are based in other countries are not affected because this is pretty much just a U.S. only union. Actors like British actors, I think belong to something different or whatever. But House of the Dragon is a big example of something that's in production right now that is going to be able to keep going because pretty much all those actors are British, so it doesn't really affect them at all. But yeah, I think. Do you have any other thoughts about the union?
Well, I mean, it's just strike? Like the thing of like just the AI thing is like obviously they're just banking on the idea of, well, first, just not having to pay extras at all anymore, which just, there goes a ton of Hollywood jobs that normal actors and actresses rely on. Obviously, your big name people, your Ryan Goslings and your Tom Hollands and your Margot Robbies and Emma Stones, they're going to be fine. You know, anybody with a big name like that, they're going to be fine. But your just typical actual actor and actress trying to make it in Hollywood, they're going to just be out of work. And then if they do break it big, and then they don't even have access to their own likeness and they can be made into whatever.
Yeah.
Whenever.
It's unfortunate because, I mean, even trying to make it big with that, like that's basically taking out like the main way that people make it big in Hollywood
without nepotism.
I was gonna add that. Yeah, because I mean, most people start out with extras or commercials or whatever, and then make their way up with smaller roles. And if these likenesses are taken and can just be CG'd in, deep faked over other people or whatever they do, it's just like I don't know. It takes out that revenue or their avenue rather, but.
I don't like it, Holden. What they're doing is a bombadil over there. Yeah. And going on strike for that is a...
Strike is a brokaw. Bombadil for what they're doing.
And I hope they compromise to a Bergeron. So, I don't know. I just wanted to use all three.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get this figured out because the last thing the movie industry needs right now is no movies.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
And theaters. Also... Theaters. This stinks for them. This is completely outside of their control, and they're just getting like great. Don't ruin theaters while we're at it.
I have to wonder if this strike lasts long enough. Do you think we will get Batgirl?
Batgirl? Well, I don't think they can. I think they literally cannot release it at this point.
They can't release it?
That's what I would assume. If you're like, we just wrote it off on a thing, I think that means it never can be released.
Okay,
but I have no idea.
I was just wondering because I'm like, they have this almost completed movie, and if they need like just a little something out there,
that one Scoob movie that we were.
Oh yeah, the Scoob movie. Yeah. The one last thing I wanted to mention about it is any like young actor who isn't part of the union yet also like basically has to go on strike because like there's some clause that if you don't strike with the union, like you can't join it or something.
Oh,
so yeah, so this pretty much all young aspiring actors are kind of in this boat.
It's unfortunate that it came to this. Right?
Yeah,
like
it is.
It would be nice to be able to avoid strikes, but when the industry, when people are being manipulated and taken advantage of, strikes are kind of like the most viable thing to do in that case. So it's unfortunate that it had to come to this. Holden, let's talk about the 2023 Emmys, which of course have zero controversy whatsoever in nominations.
So kind of bridging the gap here. I wonder, can they show up for the Emmys?
I have no idea.
I don't know how award shows work, but
you're not allowed to leave your house.
I don't know. I don't know if Emmys counts as like a promotion thing.
If you're like, all right, Kieran Culkin, best actor,
and
you just can't even show up. Like
empty audience,
once in a lifetime opportunity.
Anyway, we'll run through at least probably the series nominations and the actor nominations. So for drama series, the nominations are Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, Succession, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets.
I don't know. I haven't watched Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I've wanted to. I've heard good things.
It's okay.
Yeah, Showtime series.
Seems like a really stacked year, honestly. Andor, which is great. I'm glad Andor got the recognition that I think it deserves there. It's excellent.
It won't win, but I'm glad it got nominated.
It's unfortunate that all of these shows are just going to lose to Succession.
Yeah.
Succession is just the tidal wave that is going to just dominate this award show, and for good reason. It's an amazing show.
Very good.
I think the 4th season was the best season. I think they absolutely nailed it, and I think the ending was really strong. And for a show to be highly regarded before the final season and to stick the landing is, I mean, that's quite the accomplishment. Because I mean, we've seen a lot of shows, not be able to stick the landing. So it's cool that they were able to. So I think they're going to get a ton of recognition for that. Deservedly so. It unfortunately comes at the expense of other shows like Better Call Saul. Is just one of the great shows of all time, and it's just going to walk away with nothing.
That's my big thing. Is Better Call Saul has not won a single Emmy in its entire run.
Incredible,
which is borderline criminal, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I have a tiny hope that they just give it like a pity award or something. Just give it one, please.
Well, I would love to see Ray Seahorn win for Best Supporting Actress.
I'd even love to see Bob Odenkirk win for Best Actor.
Yeah.
I think, but
I just don't. I don't think it's in his cards.
Yeah, he probably doesn't have it.
I think Ray Seahorn, if it was going to win one, I think it would win that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, what else we got?
So comedy series, we've got Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Jury Duty, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Only Murders in the Building. Oh, and Ted Lasso and Wednesday.
I would think that The Bear would win that one.
Yeah,
I would think. Ted Lasso, maybe, but I think critics were divided on that last season.
Could be Barry, too. Barry's been an Emmy favorite in the past.
It has, but critics were also not hot on the Barry last season. I quite liked Barry's last season. We'll get to it in What Are You Doing? I thought the finale was a big swing and a miss for me, but the other 7 episodes in the season I honestly thought were really solid, and some of the best episodes in there. Found it quite enjoyable. We'll see. I would think that The Bear would get it. I haven't seen The Bear, but I've heard really good things.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new season yet. I've actually recently kind of been picking at Abbott Elementary. It is pretty funny. I like that. Jury Duty. Are you aware of that one?
No.
That's I haven't seen any episodes of it, but it's like the concept of the show is that it's a fake jury duty, and that like I think everyone in the like actual jury is an actor aside from one person or something. So I think that's what it is. And so it's this weird semi-reality, semi-scripted show that it sounds great. I've heard nothing but hilarious things about it. I don't remember what it's on, but very funny concept. But you're right. Probably Barry will win. Limited series, we have Beef, Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, which is a terrible title for that series. Daisy Jones and the Six, Fleischman is in Trouble, and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
How did Obi-Wan Kenobi?
How is that on there?
One of these things is not like the other. I've seen Dahmer and Beef, and Beef was great. I would love to see Beef. All right, I've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi too. Yeah,
but it's
I haven't seen Daisy Jones and the Six. I haven't seen Fleischman.
I've heard Daisy Jones and the Six is really good.
Yeah.
But
is that based on a book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Emily read that book.
Um,
I would say I'm cheering for Beef here.
Yeah.
I think Beef was great.
Beef is the only. Well, I guess I've seen Obi-Wan, but Beef, I'm definitely cheering between the two.
Dahmer was good, but Beef was really good.
All right, lead actor in a drama series. We have Jeff Bridges in The Old Man, Brian Cox in Succession, Kieran Culkin Succession, Bob Odenkirk Better Call Saul, Pedro Pascal The Last of Us, and Jeremy Strong Succession. Yeah, it's gonna go to a Succession probably. But
Who do you think it will be? Jeremy Strong or Kieran Culkin? It's not going to be Brian Cox, and anybody who's seen the season will know why.
Yeah, I feel like Kieran Culkin. Did he just win a Golden Globe, or did I watch an old speech?
No
I can't remember. I would probably go Kieran Culkin personally, but Jeremy Strong's good.
Yeah, I'm cheering for Bob Odenkirk. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
for
same.
him.
Same.
I would give it to Bob. This is a stacked category again. I have no idea what The Old Man is with Jeff Bridges, but I'm sure he's playing some sort of Western-esque Jeff Bridges, which is great. And he's phenomenal in that. And he probably already has an award for playing that identical role. Maybe he's playing something completely different, and he's great in that.
Who knows?
Jeff Bridges is amazing. So I'm sure whatever he is, he's deserving of being there. So stacked category once again. Brian Cox, I don't know if... I'm trying to think of who didn't get in because Brian Cox is in there. Oh, Patty Considine is not in any of these. So I guess that would be best supporting actor.
Yeah, probably be best supporting.
But that has got to be like... We'll go to that category and see if that's a huge snub, because that I feel like that's like one of the all-time TV limited
it was
supporting
really good
performances that I can remember, where the author literally came out and said, "This is better than my version." Yeah,
at least out of the nominated drama series, I'm not really sure, because most of the White Lotus ones are in supporting actor, and I don't know. I don't know if the Andor guy really needed a nomination.
Diego Luna?
Yeah, Diego Luna.
No, I don't think so.
So, yeah, I'm not sure really. At least out of those, anyone was snubbed.
Yeah, so best supporting. Can we just go to best supporting and go back to lead actress? Well, because we're just in that.
Find it.
Holden's got to scroll down. You don't have these memorized, Holden. Where's your preparation?
There's a lot. Okay, so supporting actor. This one's been getting a lot of attention on the internet because it is literally just from 2 series.
Oh, wow.
It's all Succession in The White Lotus. So we have F. Murray Abraham from The White Lotus, Nicholas Braun, Succession, Michael Imperioli, The White Lotus, Theo James, The White Lotus, Matthew McFadden, Succession, Alan Ruck, Succession, Will Sharp, The White Lotus, and Alexander Skarsgård, Succession.
It's going to be one of the Succession people.
Yeah.
Nicholas Braun is...
Greg.
Okay.
It won't be Greg.
No. I would think Matthew McFadden
That
or
would be my
Alexander
guess.
Skarsgård. Tom Wambsgans, who has been superseded Tom Brokaw.
Yeah.
We don't have the printout
yet.
Our
favorite
Tom Wambsgans. But, boy, yeah, I mean... Yikes. I think this is the category they messed up, because if you think about it, Patty Considine, I'm sorry.
How did you say it was House of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And playing King Viserys is incredible. Literally like one of the all-time supporting actor roles. I think
good.
Like in the one season of a show where he like just was amazing every scene he was in. I think that's just complete snub. The other one I would say is Stellan Skarsgård, maybe from Andor.
Yeah.
I would say I liked White Lotus season 2 quite a bit. I didn't walk away and be like, man, these actors just need to get Emmys.
Yeah, I don't know. Will Sharp is the one that played Aubrey Plaza's husband. He was really good.
Yeah,
and like he's probably the most deserving in my opinion out of the 4 that were nominated. But didn't need all 4 probably.
No, that's bizarre that happened that way. Shout out to Alan Ruck, who is great as Connor Roy in Succession. he had a little bit more to do this season, I think, and he was hilarious. Yeah. So shout out to him. All right, let's go back to the lead actress.
All right. Yeah. So
that's the one category that's like, I don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
I think you guys missed out here.
I should mention, because you talked about it a bit, no House of the Dragon acting knobs,
which is insane.
Yeah.
I get maybe the fact that it's split into 2.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
You don't get a Matt Smith even. He was in the whole series.
But that's just weird to me. And how does Patty Considine not get nominated with HBO money?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
How is there not any bribing happening?
Yeah. Where's all this bribing behind the scenes that you're supposed to be doing HBO? Come on.
Lead actress in a drama series, we have Sharon Horgan in Bad Sisters, Melanie Linsky, Yellow Jackets, Elizabeth Moss, Handmaid's Tale, Bella Ramsey, Last of Us, Carrie Russell, The Diplomat, and Sarah Snook, Succession.
Well, Sarah Snook is gonna win.
she's got that in the bag, I think.
As Shiv Roy from Succession. She was great.
Yeah. Bella Ramsey's good. I haven't seen the last couple of seasons of Handmaid's Tale, but Elizabeth Moss is very good in the role. And I have not seen any of theirs. So, yeah.
I would imagine Sarah Snook's going to win that one.
That would be my guess, too.
Congratulations, Sarah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Preemptive.
She's British,
Succession.
so she can go.
Yeah.
Right?
Lead actor in comedy series, we have Bill Hader in Barry, Jason Segel in Shrinking, Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building, Jason Sudeikis in Ted Lasso, and Jeremy Allen White in The Bear.
Is it going to be Bear Man? You think?
It's either that or Bill Hader. Bill Hader's another one that I like. You're right. Barry might not win for series, but Bill Hader is just so good at it, and he's won it before.
Yeah, I don't know. I will see.
Yeah,
I don't. People really like The Bear.
yeah. I mean, I
be
really
The
like the
Bear or
first
The
season.
Barry?
Yeah.
I think there. So.
Lead actress in a comedy series, Christina Applegate in Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Quinta Brunson, Abbott Elementary, Natasha Lyonne, Poker Face, Jenna Ortega, Wednesday.
I have not seen any of those.
That's funny because I've seen all of these except for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, actually.
Who do you think?
If I were to pick one, my preference, I would say Natasha Lyonne and Poker Face.
Knew you would say that.
But that's also partially because that's my favorite series out of all of them. They're all pretty good. I don't know. This could go anyway. I
imagine they're good, Holden, since they got nominated.
That could go anyway, I think. Lead actor in limited series, Taron Egerton, Blackbird, Kumail Nanjiani, and Welcome to Chippendales, Evan Peters in the Dahmer series, Daniel Radcliffe, Weird, The Al Yankovic Story, Michael Shannon, George and Tammy, and Stephen Yeun in Beef.
I like how Daniel Radcliffe is just in there for weird.
Yeah. Well, I think
lead actor in a limited series or movie. So this is like TV movie.
Yeah, and I think there's like a separate category for like best TV movie or whatever, because I think Weird is also nominated for that.
Okay, well, it's not going to be Daniel Radcliffe, but he's hilarious.
He's
in that.
so
And
good.
you need to watch Weird and check out our podcast about it, because that was a really great movie that came out last year. One of the funniest comedies I think that's come out in years.
Yeah,
to
recent
be honest.
memory.
It's got to be either Stephen Yeun for Beef or Evan Peters for Dahmer.
That would be my guess. Yeah. Evan Peters definitely got a lot more attention for that series, so I might be leaning towards that.
Hollywood loves Stephen Yeun. Stephen Yeun's going to win something for one of these shows one day,
and
if he hasn't already.
And he was great in Beef, so I don't know.
I don't know. Do we need to cover every single category, or should we?
I like I said, I'm just trying to do the actors one, so I'll finish the actors and then we can probably be done. Lead actress in a limited series movie: Lizzie Kaplan, Fleischman is in Trouble, Jessica Chastain, George and Tammy, Dominique Fishback, Swarm, Catherine Hahn, Tiny Beautiful Things, Riley Keough, Daisy Jones and the Six, and Ali Wong in Beef. I've only seen Beef. So.
I've only seen Beef for that with Ali Wong, who was great.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. Dominique Fishback. I know that name.
She was, I think she was the female lead in the new Transformers, and she was also in.
That's who she is. Yeah, she's the new lead in the new Transformers.
And what was the other movie? The
other
Daniel Kaluuya movie that she was in. God, what's that called? Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, she's in that too. Anyway. Supporting actor in a comedy series, we have Anthony Carrigan in Barry, Phil Dunster, Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein, Ted Lasso, James Marsden in Jury Duty, Eben Moss Bachrock in The Bear, Tyler James Williams, Abbott Elementary, and Henry Winkler in Barry.
Henry Winkler was great in the final season, and so was Anthony Carrigan.
They're both great characters. I haven't seen the final season yet, but
they're both really good in it. Brett Goldstein in Ted Lasso as Roy Kent is always fantastic. Phil Dunster, I think that is the guy who plays Jamie Tart. I gotta double check that though. Phil Not Phil Mickelson.
can't-
Phil, yeah, he's Jamie.
While you're
He's
looking that
good
up,
too.
I'm going to look up who the bear guy is because I don't know if he's in the first season or not. Oh my god.
But I like a lot of those performances. So yeah, really, really good there. Any of those would be just deserving.
Okay, yeah, the guy from the Bears is at least he was great in the first season. So yeah, deserved nom if he was that good in the second season.
I guess I'm rooting for maybe Anthony Carrigan just because I love NoHo Hank so much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't seen any of these in their most recent iterations, but yeah, probably I'll go Anthony Carrigan too. He's
there. You
good.
All right.
Supporting actress in a comedy series, we have Alex Borstein, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Ayu Edebiri in The Bear, Janelle James, Abbott Elementary, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Abbott Elementary, Juno Temple, Ted Lasso, Hannah Waddingham, Ted Lasso, Jessica Williams, and Shrinking. The Bear actress is great, and she's in a lot of things this year. She's in a couple. She's in a movie called Theater Camp that's coming out. That I was one of the movies that I saw early when I bought those Sundance tickets.
Yeah,
she was very good in that. And then she's also in another movie called Bottoms coming out that looks really funny. But yeah, she's great, and the Abbott Elementary ladies, at least in the first season, have been very funny too. So great all around there.
Yeah, I've only seen Ted Lasso of these, so I like Hannah Waddingham a lot, who plays Rebecca, the owner of the club, and also the evil nun lady from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
which is fun.
Oh, really?
Shame.
Okay, interesting.
Shame.
Didn't know that was her.
Shame. Yeah, Emily recognized her. I was like, how did you recognize her? They're like completely different characters. I was blown away that she did. I would never have noticed in a million years.
And then we obviously already did supporting actor in drama. So supporting actress in a drama series, we have Jennifer Coolidge for The White Lotus, Elizabeth Debicki in The Crown, Megan Fahey, The White Lotus, Sabrina Impacciatore. It's Italian. The White Lotus, Aubrey Plaza, The White Lotus, Ray Seahorn, Better Call Saul, J. Smith Cameron, Succession, and Simona Tabasco, The White Lotus.
I'm gonna root for Ray Seahorn.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think she's got a good chance too.
Yeah,
Jennifer Coolidge was good. I think her performance is she's really good. I think her performance was a little overhyped for season 2 because I watched it after everybody freaked out over it.
Yeah.
But I mean, all very, very good performances, obviously.
Yeah,
but Ray Seahorn, I think, has been phenomenal for that entire series and deserves the recognition.
And the one Succession representation is Jerry, correct? That J. Smith Cameron,
Jerry, I believe.
And she's very good, but I don't think she has quite the pull that like the other Succession actors do. At least in
she just doesn't have as much to do.
Yeah,
she's great she's phenomenal as Jerry for the scenes that she's in. She's wonderful. But like, how do you give it to her over Ray Seahorn?
Yeah.
I mean, for the whole Better Call Saul and just halfway carrying that show along with Bob Odenkirk and the rest of the cast. Another supporting actor snub, Tony Dalton. Like, what the heck? How, like, again, like one of the all-time TV performances, like,
or like, even,
how do you standing out as people consider him maybe even better than Gus Fring as like a villain in the Breaking Bad universe with Giancarlo Esposito, which is like insane to think about.
Well, and like that doesn't even include like Jonathan Banks.
Yeah.
Also,
but I mean, he's great.
Fantastic. Like I Better Call Saul just didn't get enough love this year, which is sad because it was the last year.
Yeah, and it's gone. And the last season was amazing too.
And quick, I won't do the supporting actors in the limited series because I don't think we've seen most of those, but the guest actor ones I think are notable. So guest actor in a comedy series, John Bernthal in The Bear, Luke Kirby, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Nathan Lane, Only Murders in the Building, Pedro Pascal, Saturday Night Live, I guess is the host, Oliver Platt in The Bear, and Sam Richardson in Ted Lasso.
Sam Richardson, is he the guy who plays Zava or something here? No, he is. Oh, he's this wealthy Nigerian guy. Really? Interesting. I mean, he's like decent in his role, but I didn't watch and go like, wow, get that man an Emmy.
And then for guest actress, we have Becky Ann Baker, Ted Lasso, Quinta Brunson, Saturday Night Live, I assume hosting again, Taraji P. Henson, Abbott Elementary, Judith Light, Poker Face, Sarah Niles, Ted Lasso, Harriet Walter, Ted Lasso. Judith Light in Poker Face was very good. Most of the actors in Poker Face are guests because they're just in one episode. But
I don't know. I don't know why you felt the need to go over these old and
I guess. Well, okay.
You just wanted to talk about Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett.
That's the main thing
in The Last of Us coming in.
Yeah, guest actor in drama series. We have Murray Bartlett, Last of Us, James Cromwell, Succession, Lamar Johnson, The Last of Us, Arian Moayed, Succession, Nick Offerman, Last of Us, and Kelvin Montreal Woodard, Last of Us. He's the
brother.
Yeah,
Okay. James Cromwell is the brother of Logan Roy.
Yes,
and Arian.
He's what's his name?
He's the friend guy. Yeah, Stewie.
Stewie. Yes, you're right.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen all of these.
It's going to be Murray
good.
Bartlett or Nick Offerman.
Yeah,
I think it's probably going to be Nick Offerman.
Probably.
So there we go. Anything else to say, Holden? Because it's just more of that, right?
Yeah, we'll just do guest actress in drama series just as the last one. Hayam Abbas in Succession, Cherry Jones, Succession, Melanie Linsky, Last of Us, Storm Reed, Last of Us, Anna Torv, Last of Us, Harriet Walters, Succession. Succession and Last of Us just had these locked down. Melanie
Linsky. Whoops.
She was the lady that we didn't like that much.
Oh, yeah. She was like the Karen who took over Kansas City.
Yeah.
I think I like, I'm trying to remember all this. I like Storm Reed a lot.
Yeah.
I think
Harriet
off the top
Walter,
of my head, I would give it to Storm Reed because I thought she was amazing.
Harriet Walter is the mom in Succession.
Good, but not in a lot.
Cherry Jones is the owner of the newspaper that they.
Okay, yeah, something with a P.
Yeah,
Pierce,
yes.
Yeah, I think I would go Storm Reed just because I was like, wow, that was a good performance. So as Riley from The Last of Us.
All right, that's it for Emmys.
Wow, that's it, Holden? That's all? 30 minutes later. Holy smokes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm going to go overall Brokaw, except the category of Best Supporting Actor, which is abominable. Because how did you not get Tony Dalton, Patty Considine, and I mean, Stellan Skarsgård, I could see you leaving him. But Patty Considine and Tony Dalton, what the heck, man?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
I'm in the same boat with those ratings. So, so past the Emmys, we have some more Superman Legacy casting. Kind of a lot, actually. It was very interesting.
They had to get it in before the writer's strike.
I guess.
Or the actor's strike, because now they can't cast anybody.
That's true, yeah. So we have Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, who is one of the Green Lanterns from the comics. Guy Gardner, from what I understand as a Green Lantern, is kind of like... most people don't like him that much, like comic readers, because he's like kind of just a jerk or something. He's like he was introduced as like the kind of new Green Lantern replacement, but he's kind of like this cocky, like just no one really likes him. So I my guess is he'll be played as a joke, especially since it's Nathan Fillion. So.
Nathan Fillion's great. If you have not seen his Uncharted fan film that he stars in on YouTube, look up Nathan Fillion Uncharted. He is a fantastic Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's kind of aged out of the role, so you couldn't play him in the Uncharted movie. But
he is great.
He's great. And him and James Gunn seem like just a match made in heaven because he just fits right into James Gunn's kind of style and type of comedy. And I think he can pull it off really well in a way that's not, in a way that's actually funny instead of just like trying to be funny, because his comic chops are so good. So I think he's going to be hilarious. That's definitely him. Is definitely a Brokaw. He is definitely a Brokaw for me. There we go.
Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl. She was Dora in the Dora movie.
I never did see it.
I never did either. She was also in, I think
I forgot that movie exists.
She was also in the 5th Transformers movie, I think. And I feel like there's something else big I've seen her in, but younger actress.
Never did see the...
Oh, she's in the 2nd Sicario movie?
Didn't see that. So I have no idea here. I'm going to give her a Bergeron just because I don't know her at all.
Good luck to you. She was good in what I've seen her in, so I'll give her a Brokaw.
Awesome.
This other actor I'm not familiar with, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific as a character, he's kind of... I'm not super familiar with him from the Justice League cartoon. I believe he's kind of like a tech guy, but he's like just kind of also a good fighter. He's kind of... I think for a lot of, at least in the Justice League show, he's kind of a man in the chair type character. So But people seem to like him. So
Bergeron for
'cause I
me,
don't know him.
Holden. Bergeron.
And then probably the best one, honestly, is
Tom Momskins, don't have him. Thomas,
Yeah.
2 thumbs up. Roll.
is Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho, which great things here because first of all, Anthony Carrigan, we just talked about him from Barry.
As No-Ho Hank.
Yeah, and he's great in that. And Metamorpho is just such a weird character. He kind of, from what I understand, he's kind of like a good Clayface. He doesn't look like Clayface. He kind of can hold more of a human form in a lot of ways, but he can just transform his body parts, kind of can metamorph into different things.
Metamorphosis.
But it's such a weird character that I'm glad James Gunn is putting into his movie, and Anthony Carrigan seems great. Also, he's bald, so
he
the
is
character's
so
bald.
he is the most bald man of all time, and he's hilarious. He's so funny. His comedic delivery is fantastic. One of, if not my favorite character from Barry.
Yeah,
and he's just a good actor too.
Yeah.
Like the man is a good actor, and he's hilarious. Is just his body language is all so funny. Again, him and James Gunn just works together. I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely. Tom Momskins, Thomas, 2 thumbs up. Brokaw, highest rating I can possibly give there. All right, Holden.
Yeah, so that's it for Superman casting. Next, just Borderlands movie, which I keep forgetting is happening, but there's a kind of interesting development on it. So previously we talked about Craig Mazin, who wrote the Last of Us series and Chernobyl. Was previously reported and listed as a credited writer on the film, but now he claims that he has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and you got in our notes here. We got the movie. It's been in limbo. It finished filming during 2020.
Yeah,
that's 3 years ago.
It was one of those movies that
this many.
Yeah, it was one of those movies that I think was like they figured out COVID policy and stuff and were able to get going during that. But it's been done for almost 3 years now.
And then, what was this last bit you have here?
Oh, just Jamie Lee Curtis in another interview claims that it's going to be releasing next year. Obviously, no date, and that's not an official.
That is not good news, Holden.
No,
this is gonna be a bombadil for me. Not good news when this happens. It's probably gonna be fine, okay, but it's not. It doesn't sound like it'll be great if this is the case.
Tying into the Craig Mazin thing, though, I think it was last week. It was like he was listed. His name was switched out with like a different name that was rumored to be like a moniker or whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it for an author when they change the name. Pseudonym, yes. But now he claims that it's not even a pseudonym. So I don't know. I don't know what's true anymore. We'll see.
Greg Cornyn. Instead of Greg Mazin.
I remember it being kind of a funny name, but I don't know.
All right.
So interesting bit of news here. 28 days later, zombie movie, very influential from the mid 2000s. Looks like it might be getting another sequel, but this one actually coming from the original makers of that first movie. Alex Garland, who wrote it, and Danny Boyle, who directed it, are discussing returning for a potential sequel called 28 Years Later. Alex Garland says he has an idea he really likes and would like to write it. And Danny Boyle says that he would love to direct it if Alex doesn't want to direct it himself. Cillian Murphy also says that if they both return, he would definitely come back if the idea involves his character.
Brokaw for me. I don't even love 28 Days Later, to be honest with you, but this is a Brokaw for me because Alex Garland, most of what he has written is great. I did not like Men very much. I thought that was a bad movie. But Ex Machina is one of my favorite movies. Sunshine's pretty good. Some people really like that. I liked Annihilation. You were kind of in the middle, mixed.
I'll rewatch it sometime, see if my opinion changes.
But if he's got an idea, that gets me excited. I think they could do a lot with this genre. I mean, obviously, The Last of Us has proved that. You Walking Dead, all that stuff. There's a lot to be done, I think, left with this genre. Of course, Cillian Murphy's great. So having him back would be awesome as
Danny
well.
Boyle. If Danny Boyle comes back, great director. So.
Yeah. Or if Alex Garland just does it, because he's proven himself as a good director as well. So that's a Tom Brokaw for me once again, Holden.
Tom Brokaw.
All right, last piece of news, Holden. What do we got?
Yeah, just last piece of news is that the Boys spinoff series Gen V is coming in September.
Which was like a mystery thing?
Well, this is the one that's like high school.
Yeah, but I thought it was like some sort of mystery.
Yeah,
I'm gonna double check it right now. I'm gonna look it up. You vamp. For me.
I think it was described as like a mystery meets the Hunger Games or something like that. So that would make sense to me.
Here's the plot. According to Wikipedia, young adult superheroes or supes are tested in battle royale challenges at the Godolphin University School of Crime Fighting, run by Vought International. So it's a battle royale thing.
But yeah, I don't know. It seems interesting. That one like teaser thing we got looked kind of cool. I think it was only like 30 seconds, but I remember it being pretty cool. I'm sure we'll get a full trailer here soon. But I mean, it's run by, I think it's similar showrunners or at least producers. So
it's a Brokaw. Holden.
Yeah, we love the boys.
All right, Holden, we love the boys. Before we move on to our review of Secret Invasion Episode 4, we got to talk about our Popeyes experience this week. And boy, does it need to be fast, because we got a lot to talk about this week. This week, TOMPeyes, the segment where we talk about Popeyes chicken, because we go there pretty much before every movie. This time did not disappoint Holden. Very friendly person at the cash register. From my understanding, they were new. Imagine that. New employees, I think, essentially every time we go there. Very friendly. Got the order right, which was nice. And they did the thing where they got for both of us, we got the basket of fries separate.
Which is always good, because sometimes you'll get it where you'll get a basket of chicken. The fries are also in there. You just don't get as many fries that way.
Had to wait a couple minutes for my classic tasting fried chicken, but understandable at Popeyes. Of course, we did have coworkers shouting at each other, swearing loudly, but that's just all part of the typical Popeyes experience.
Well, and that's how we knew that the guy was new, because they kept yelling about the new guy.
Hey, new guy! If you want me to learn your name, do what I tell you. Which I think is hilarious. Anything else to say?
Never a dull moment at Popeyes. No, my chicken was really good. So.
All right, Popeyes, if you want to sponsor us, our email is down in the description. There you go.
Popeyes this week at Brokaw.
Popeyes this week is at Brokaw. That's right. All right, Holden, let's talk about Secret Invasion Episode 4, titled Beloved. This is going to be a spoiler discussion, so that's going to start right after this. If you don't want to listen to that, you want to jump to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, look at the time codes down in the description. Otherwise, we're going to start right now.
All right, Secret Invasion Episode 4, titled Beloved.
I don't need these
spoilers
anymore.
Yeah, we can drop these on the floor. I feel like I am living in a crazy person world. I feel like this isn't the first time it's happened, but the reception of this episode was like mixed, and I think it was a good episode personally.
I thought it was all right.
I guess for me, I'm just thinking I'm being very positive on this series, and I feel like just it's not there for everyone else. So.
I'm positive on the series. One thing I will say is they did the thing where they killed off the character and then they're just alive.
Yeah.
One of the issues for me with this episode is kind of ties into the end of the last episode, they killed off Gaia, supposedly. At the end of this episode, they kill off Talos, supposedly. But it's like, there's no weight to Talos dying, because it's like literally you had someone die at the very last episode and now they're alive. And I'm like, if Talos is actually dead, that moment was just completely missed for me, because is he dead or is he not dead?
I think it's more likely that he would be dead. The fact that Gaia died, it's Emilia Clarke, I'm like, it seems a little bit weird that she would die halfway through the series, but I feel like it's more likely Talos would.
That's what I'm saying. But I think there's a good chance that he is just straight up dead. Mm-hmm. But that moment didn't mean anything to me, because you've established that characters can just come back to life after they've been dead on the ground.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's probably the biggest negative for the episode for me. The episode's not that long.
No,
it's compared to some of the other ones. It's just around 30 minutes, not counting credits. But let's see, we get a flashback.
Yeah, it's Paris in the 2012 or whatever, right after the Avengers movie, essentially.
The de-aging or makeup that they do on Nick Fury looks really good. He looks just like he did back then. So I don't know. I mean, granted, I don't think like Samuel L. Jackson has aged poorly or anything, so it's probably not that hard. But
it has been 10 years.
Yeah,
so
long time. But yeah, no, it looks great there. In general, I really like the scenes between him and his wife, though. I think they're really pretty interesting.
Yeah,
personally,
I don't know. I thought they're okay.
Okay,
they read the poem.
Mm-hmm.
All I want is to feel beloved.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could take or leave this his relationship with his wife has not really added that much for me, because it's like, okay, she's like married to him, but he's just gone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously she kind of resents him, but then he's like, I just love you. But I'm like, well, if you actually loved her, you go and visit her and like put your actions where your mouth is, buddy. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Speaking as a married man, Jimmy.
Yeah. So that part was weird. And then of course we get the Colonel Rhodes is a Skrull, which people predicted. Yeah. I didn't necessarily think I saw that coming, but people online predicted that.
Yeah, which I think changes my prediction from last episode to be the president's just gonna die. It's not that he's a Skrull. He's just gonna die.
Just gonna die. But they didn't kill him this episode yet.
No.
Anyway, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I did like the scene though where Nick Fury goes over and visits. Somehow he's listening into that conversation. We have the conversation between Gaia and Talos, which I thought was interesting because she's like, I think it's interesting that Gaia just betrays Gravik, but doesn't even know what her dad's planning, and then Talos is just like, yeah, well, what we're gonna do
figure it out.
is we're just gonna save the world, and then we're gonna go to the president and say, hey, look, we just saved the world, so how about amnesty so we can live here forever? And Emilia Clarke is like, dude, none of us want to live here anymore.
Yeah.
Also, that's just not going to work. He's like, it's not a bargaining chip if you've already, played your hand. You got to go up to the president now and be like, look, man, there's a secret invasion going on. Here's my proof. Here's my bargaining chip. I can help you with these terms. Not afterward go up and say, hey, man, I just saved the world. Hopefully you can cut me a break. Am I right? There's no incentive to do that there. And Gaia, Emilia Clarke, is just like, what?
Yeah,
dude, you have no idea what you're talking about, which I liked because it adds a little bit of nuance to her character, but also just kind of makes her seem silly for just trusting that her dad would have a plan and completely burning her bridge with Gravik.
Yeah,
and just throwing all of her eggs into this one basket. I think Emilia Clarke's performance has been really good though.
Yeah,
and Ben Mendelsohn, of course.
Gaia's been great. I agree. I like that she's like, she goes to her dad like, I'm all in, Dad. What are we gonna do? And he's just like, we'll figure it out. She's like, what?
We'll play it by ear.
Yeah,
I can't wait for Gaia to at the end be like, humans aren't so bad after all, Dad.
Unless the dad's dead. Unless Talos is dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what she's going to remember him.
Oh,
she's going to go visit his grave. And
look up to the stars.
or they're going to shoot him out into space, or they're going to bury him on the
Single
new
tear down the
Skrull world.
I guess I forgot to mention that she survived the bullet wound she had done the super Skrull thing to herself.
She's super Skrulled herself.
She at least got and I was right, it's Extremis is what they have to regenerate with. So, nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Then we got the scene, I think is the next scene here. I'm just thumbing through it. Yep. Where Nick Fury is at home. He has listened to his wife's conversation with Colonel Rhodes Skrull dude. And he knows that she's going to try to kill him because apparently she's more loyal to Gravik than to him at this point, or just more loyal to this cause. Mm-hmm. She also kind of sees Nick Fury as kind of a shell of himself, and she also sees him as not a threat, and she tries to bargain for his life. So there's that. I don't understand why she needs to do it. I guess because it's like, oh, he trusts you.
It's probably that, and also like approving your loyalty thing. I assume that's why also like Gravik has been like so hesitant to meet with her, just in case like Nick Fury had gotten to her and stuff. So it's probably just to, prove her loyalty to the cause.
Yeah. So that they have their conversation at the table, and they shoot at each other, and it reminded me of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the bullets went through me. And then they just are like, well, I guess we both missed, so I'm going to leave now, and that's going to be okay with both of us. That was interesting.
Yeah, no, I in general liked their conversation because they were both pretty honest about like their feelings, and like Nick Fury had talked about how, he probably shouldn't have married her and everything, even though he does love her, and he's put her in a weird situation, put himself in a weird situation, and it was just kind of a brutally honest conversation that they both kind of ended on.
Yeah, would you have loved me if I was my true self or true form? And he's like, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah,
that's not the answer she wanted to hear. You also get the backstory of how she took her form.
Yeah,
and
I liked that too. Yeah,
that was interesting.
That was cool.
Yeah, it's a good moment. I don't necessarily love the fact that they shot at each other and missed, and they're like, well, guess that's just fate. I'm gonna leave now. I felt like that was a little unrealistic for what would actually happen in that situation.
Well, did they like? I thought they missed on purpose.
But why would you shoot at each other?
I don't know.
See, like it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I did think, did they do it on purpose? Did they miss on purpose? But there's no like. I feel like you need more context or more of an explanation if that's the case. Then Nick Fury breaks into the hotel room of Skrull Rhodes.
Which I've seen kind of the clip going around on the internet, but the bit where he like wipes away the mirror and like is transformed, I thought that was a pretty cool shot.
The effects have been pretty great in this, honestly. So yeah, I enjoyed this conversation. Obviously brings in the one alcoholic, was it bourbon? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Which again was also very Pulp Fiction-y, like, now that's a tasty bourbon. No, he doesn't say that, but he does like,
Yeah.
So I like that he's got a GPS tracker in the bourbon because he knows that he's a Skrull. He's figured it out. He's got it. He's Nick Fury. He's one step ahead. He knows what he's doing. And then we get the whole convoy thing.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
There's a conversation that Rhodey has with the president where the president's like, you're drunk. Whatever. Yeah. He's just like, Rhodey's being really pushy. And but the convoy thing, which I thought was a pretty good action scene. Pretty exciting.
A lot of people just aimlessly getting shot and dying.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, it's not like fantastic or anything, but not also poorly done. That's where we see Gravik as more than just the extremist powers. He has Groot arms.
Yeah, he's got Groot arms. There is definitely just like plot armor though in this, like just in the middle of all this firing, and somehow they're like completely fine and not concerned with getting shot.
Well, I'm wondering if that's just because they are. I mean, at least Gravik has the ability to heal. So
but I'm talking more like just Nick Fury.
Oh yeah.
And Talos. I mean, Talos eventually does get shot, but like in the president, he's just like pulls the president out. I'm like, dude, this guy is like, they're all going for him. Like, is it that hard? Or maybe they're not because they're like, we need him alive, so he starts a war. I don't know if the president gets shot and killed though in Russia, you'd think they would start a war.
Well, and as soon as Nick Fury takes the president, he's like, I'll be back for you, Talos. I'm like, no, you're not. It's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. There were a couple. This episode had more moments of like, it didn't ruin. It wasn't like bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't like, okay, we have this firefight, but it doesn't. If you really sit down and think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense what is happening here and why would you do this. So I feel like people who maybe are a little bit critical of this episode they're probably pulling apart a lot of these threads. And once you start to tug on these, it probably comes a little bit loose. It doesn't ruin my enjoyment of the show. I still was entertained by this, but there were a few moments where it's like, oh, turn your brain off for this part. And yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I hope it's not gonna end in a little, dud, but we'll see. I like this episode probably more than any Falcon and the Winter
Oh,
Soldier
yeah.
episode. So I've enjoying the show. I still like it. Just a little bit of, the turn your brain off moments, but another entertaining episode.
Yeah, I'm personally, I quite liked the episode. I don't have, aside from as you said, the fake out death thing, I don't really have many problems with it. I don't know. I just in general, I'm enjoying the series and the intrigue and everything, and we'll see. I think I'm going to end up being one of the more positive defenders of this show by the end, depending on how it ends. We'll see. But yeah.
I'm definitely like pro Secret Invasion. Good show. We'll see how it ends.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's dive into our spoiler-free review of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Once again, use the time codes in the description. Spoiler-free review coming at you right after this.
All right, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Still a bad name.
Still a bad name. All right, Holden, here's our synopsis. Ethan Hunt and the IMF and the IMF team must track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, a deadly race around the globe begins. Confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy, Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than the mission, not even the lives of those he cares about most. Dun, 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 dun.
So this was, I think this is my second most anticipated movie of the year. It was behind Spider-Verse, I know. I don't know if it was number 2 or number 3. I believe, I'll just say it was number 2. It was high up there. And yeah, I rewatched, last week, like 3 days ago, I mentioned that I watched 1 through 4. But since then, before the movie, I watched the 5th and 6th ones again. I'll probably get more into my thoughts of those later, but 6 just was even better than I remembered personally. It was so good. That movie is just like a cut above the rest. So I went into this, I was like, it's probably not going to be as good as Fallout, but I was still, excited for it and everything. And unfortunately, I was thinking about this, like, so far this year, it's probably my most disappointing movie of the year, even though it's good, but I just had like high expectations for it and it just did not reach those. I didn't like it as much as a lot of other people seem to.
That's where I'm at too. I still really like this movie. I really do enjoy this movie. I really like the Mission Impossible movies. I'm excited for part 2. It's going to be one of my most anticipated movies of that year. This was number 2 for me this year behind Indiana Jones. People love this movie. Like, people are saying like this is one of the greatest action movies they've ever seen, and there are a lot of great moments in this. I do not understand why people love this movie that much. I think it has. I don't like a lot of the things that I have wrong with it are subjective, so I can understand that part. But I do think there are like things that are a little clunky or weird, and I don't. Some people like think this is like a perfect movie, and I just didn't feel that way watching it. There were parts of it, chunks that were disappointing. But again, I'm going to come off more negative than I actually am. I think this movie's really good. But again, it's like your bar is all the way up here and it comes in right here. You're going to be a little disappointed.
Yeah,
more
100%.
than a film that's right here and it comes in right there. So
yeah,
and we'll get into why that is. I definitely don't think like our thoughts should dissuade you from seeing it though. I think it's definitely worth seeing. When I talk about who is this movie for, it's for people. Okay, if you like the Mission Impossible movies, you gotta see this one. If you liked 4, 5, and 6, if you
similar
see
vein,
this.
yeah.
If you haven't seen a Mission Impossible movie, I still think you can go and watch this one and be okay.
Probably even more so than Fallout. Fallout is, I feel like if you haven't seen the 5th one, there's a lot of things because that continues a lot from 5. But yeah, this one I think is a bit more like you could just go watch it.
Yeah. I particularly like the first act of this movie. I think there's a lot of really exciting things that happen in there. I do have a couple like issues that I can't talk about right now because they're spoilery. But Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to like here. The stuff in
let's focus on the positive first because we are probably going to talk a while on the stuff we don't like as much.
Yeah, I think that will be mostly the spoiler review though when I think about the specifics. But like the beginning is like the opening, like the cold open sequence is great.
Yeah,
like
very
super
exciting,
good.
very very thrilling, very different for Mission Impossible. And you just had no idea what was happening the whole time. It was very unnerving.
And then there's a sequence in this airport at Abu Dhabi, also in the first act, that I think is really exciting as well. So I enjoyed both of those things a lot.
In general, the performances are very good, just like always in these movies. I mean, nothing like Oscar worthy, but like all of the cast seems to just really like being in these movies. I mean, you have the returning people, obviously Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg and Rebecca Ferguson all return, but even like the new ones, Haley Atwell, are all great. I think very good in this movie, very committed to whatever physicality they need, but also just being entertaining characters in their own right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. And I also like the set piece towards the end of this movie. The bit that's on the train stuff that's in the trailer, I think is
Good
is
train
really
sequence,
fun.
Jimmy.
Yeah, good train sequence. And it does things that, like, there's been a lot of train sequences. It does things that are new and fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just retread all these other things.
One thing about this movie that's also positive is it actually looks like it has a lot of money behind it.
Yeah,
like
$291 million. Do you realize this movie costs that much? I mean, how much of that is just because COVID?
Yeah, how much is COVID? How much is like just Tom Cruise or whatever? But like, I mean, it may not be a whole lot less, but this costs less than Indiana Jones did.
About the same.
Yeah, but it looks a lot better, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like it just in general, it's pretty well shot for the most part.
You can tell what's going on in the action.
Yeah, you can tell what's happening.
The action,
a lot of
sequence
practical
here,
stuff, obviously, because Tom Cruise. But
it's you wouldn't necessarily think to compare Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible, but there is a good comparison here because there are like chases, and they do get into like a little vehicle, and it's a chase, and you can tell what's happening here. Well, yeah, and there's a train sequence. There's actually quite a few parallels.
Well, and they were released a couple weeks apart, so it's easy to do.
But there's actually more parallels than you would think. And this one, the direction and the camera work is just, I think, much better for the sake of the film than Indiana Jones was. And they had limitations on Indiana Jones, obviously. But,
Sure.
But I'm sure they had limitations with this, with COVID. So, I think a lot of the action is really fun.
Obviously the stunts are good. For me personally, I don't think there's really like a standout stunt in this one. I know there's the one that they keep advertising. We'll talk about it more in spoilers, but
the jump.
Yeah, the jump. But none of them really stand out to me quite like some of the ones from the previous few movies. But that doesn't mean they're bad or anything. They're still well executed and stuff. But even just like the fight choreography is pretty good. It's no John Wick 4 because that's not the main focus here, but it's pretty well done. Some not long takes, but it's not just frantic cutting with the fight choreography and stuff. So yeah, nice wide shots with that too. But
I liked the music again. Lauren Balfe, I think, did a really good job with the music. I think it's relatively paced well. I think there are a couple moments where it slows down. There's a lot of talking. But it didn't, like, I could have kept watching this movie for so how long is this movie now?
It's nearly 3 hours.
It's
let's see 2:45, I'd say.
Here. Where is this? Why is it
I think you just passed it. No, go down a bit.
Whoop.
Oh, maybe not.
No, usually it's up at there it is, 2 hours 49.
Oh, I see. So yeah, nearly 3
I
hours.
could have kept watching this movie. Like I didn't realize it was about to end until they started doing the voiceover at the end of the movie. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I'll give specific examples in spoilers probably, but there are some scenes that are too long and could be cut down, but at the same time, like the movie as a whole is paced pretty well. So I'm in the same boat where by the end of it, I'm like, oh, it's the end. It didn't feel like 3 hours. But if you had trimmed down those scenes that at the time felt too long, I feel like it would feel even just brisker and I think it would just benefit and add to the already pretty good pacing. So,
can I just start talking about things I can talk about non-spoiler wise for
things we didn't like as much? Yeah, probably.
I thought this movie was smelling its own farts quite a few times. I don't know. Like this movie took itself so seriously. And I think Ethan Hunt is like almost a caricature at this point. He's like, I care so much about the people around me. Like, I don't even have to know you, and I love you, and I'd put my life on the line for you. And I don't know. And like they're just like the romanticization of like the IMF and like the process of getting into it. Like, I don't know. Some of that, again, that is subjective, completely subjective. And if you thought that didn't bother you at all, then I'm jealous. I wish that was the case there. It's just something that didn't work for me.
I'm kind of in the same boat because I think like it takes itself really seriously, which I think to some extent, like rewatching Fallout and how much I love that movie does take itself seriously too. But there's a lot more comedy woven throughout, and there's a lot more like clearly like the absurd things are kind of played off as absurd, and it's kind of part of the joke and everything. And I think one of the things that the 4 through 6 does in general pretty well that this one kind of lacks a bit is that like Jackie Chan comedy infusion with the action, which we taught like in a recent example, John Wick 4 does that a lot with its fight scenes and stuff. There's a lot of things are just clearly funny and played for laughs. And this one doesn't do it as much. It's just like everything is very dour and like matter of fact. And the few moments of comedy that are sprinkled in there, some are fine. And usually the fine ones are the ones in the more down moments. But other times it kind of just screeches the movie to a halt and is not very funny. And it feels out of place there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, there's this bit in this car chase where these two characters are kind of tied to each other, and that's played off. And I liked that. I just think it went on. Like, that was one specific gag kept going on and on. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I need any more of this necessarily. I think they could have condensed that into a shorter sequence that was even more engaging and exciting.
There's one part in that I swear is supposed to be like a sex innuendo.
I can't remember.
I might talk about it in spoilers, but I'm like, it was like this joke that went on too long, and I'm like, I could be crazy, but I think that's what this is supposed to be, and it feels so out of place here. I don't know.
But yeah, no, there's some plot conveniences too. There are certain characters that I think just don't need to be in this movie and don't really add that much. And sometimes are just distracting for me. I didn't think Gabriel was that great of an antagonist in this. I don't know. Some people seem to really like him.
The guy's performance was good, and I mean the fight scenes he was in, he did a good job and everything. But yeah, as a villain, he wasn't just the most interesting. He didn't quite have the presence of someone like, I don't know, the villains from the previous. I don't know if I should spoil the twist of Fallout or not. But no. I won't. But like the villain in that movie has a lot more presence and charisma, I think, just in general. But this one, it's like, I mean, he's fine, but just not a standout, really.
Yeah. The weapon in this movie is called the Entity, and it's ridiculous how many times they say the Entity. This movie has so many people like talking through their teeth, just singing Ethan Hunt. You have to understand the seriousness, the gravity of the situation in which you find yourselves right now. It's like a lot, like so many characters are talking that way.
Well, and so it's funny you bring that up. So the Entity, I don't know if is it a spoiler to talk about what the Entity is?
Yeah, let's just save it for later.
Okay.
Well, no, you can just say it. I mean,
okay.
It's pretty.
It's like from the start of the movie. It's kind of the MacGuffin, but also kind of an antagonist. But it's essentially this rogue AI, and this rogue AI is like the main villain, kind of the one who Gabriel is working for, is agent of. And I think that's part of the reason why the serious nature doesn't work for me, because I think just a rogue AI in a Mission Impossible movie is just a little silly, right? To me. And I think it's like
that part, like that in as of itself is not silly. The part that was silly for me is just the characters continually referring to it and how dangerous it is. And like we get it. Like you don't need to say it 12 times if the entity gets in the wrong hands, do you understand what that means for us, Ethan? We need to acquire it for the United States of America, for the greater good, Ethan, the entity. There's just so much of that.
You're just mostly doing a Kittredge impression.
Yeah, but everybody else is talking through their teeth too. And it's like, okay, I get it. But that's like the thing in and of itself is not silly, but the way they talked about it was just goofy to me. And again, this is all subjective, right? You could completely disagree with this. Completely valid. I am frankly jealous of the people who really enjoyed this. I'm just saying what didn't work for me and why it didn't work for me. I would love for you to comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. What worked or didn't work for you as well. Start that conversation because we're definitely open-minded folk here that we can be convinced by this. Holden's just researching spoilers for part 2.
No, I meant to click on the first one. So I mentioned it earlier. So Henry Czerny, I think is how you say his name, returns as Kittredge from the first movie. Both movies, I like his character. I think he's just he's very much like he's just working for the government, like kind of no nonsense. And he's like in both movies, his entire like motivation is working for the government, but he's such an antagonistic force that like it's kind of surprising when he does end up helping them to an extent because he's an antagonist, but not a villain, I'd say. Like in this movie, especially, like he's working against Ethan Hunt.
Well, so there all these different groups are going after this MacGuffin, right? And so you're gonna have competing kind of interests there, and you're gonna have a spectrum of antagonists to protagonists. I just don't think you needed all those different parties.
No, probably not. It is pretty overstuffed with characters that don't really need to be there. I think getting a bit off or moving on a bit. One of the things that for me personally, I'm kind of mixed on is the editing in this movie. I feel like most of the time is good, but there are some times where I didn't understand why shots were connected together the way they were. It felt very like it felt like certain shots were connected and there should have been like a shot in between them, but there just wasn't. And it felt very jarring. I mentioned to you, and this one thing is just kind of a nitpick. I think there's a bit in the airport where they dub over Haley Atwell's character, and she is clearly front and center on the screen. Like her face is facing the screen and everything, and she says something, but her mouth does not move. And it's probably like, I could be wrong. Maybe I missed it completely, but if that is the case, it's probably the most egregious like dubbing mistake I think I've seen in a movie. And once again, that's just one small thing, but the editing, I just felt like it was a little bit rougher than in previous movies. Cause like Fallout, I feel like is just such a clean movie, like very pristine, very like they went over that with a fine tooth comb. And, you know, there's lots of reasons why things can happen the way they do, but it just felt like this one wasn't quite as polished to me.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Again, we like this movie. We're not negative on it. These are more minor gripes than anything. It's just like it was. I'm just at the point of like, okay, why do people? What about this do people just love so much, and why aren't people seeing this the way we do, and just sharing how we experienced it in an honest way? So I'm disappointed that I didn't like it more, but I got to be honest with how I watched it and what I felt during it. I want to like this movie more. Maybe I will watching it again. Maybe I will enjoy this, and maybe sometimes when you see a movie a second time, it just clicks for you. It certainly happened for me, and maybe this is one of those things, or maybe just this is where I'm at with this one.
Yep.
I think for part one, I think this is a satisfying part one. I think it's not like, oh my gosh, a massive cliffhanger.
Yeah.
For part two, this part one, it's like, okay, it feels like it has enough of a conclusion that you feel satisfied walking out of the theaters, thinking you weren't cheated out of half of the story. It's not like Spider-Verse, where it's just like, boom, ends.
Yeah.
Part two coming whenever we get it done.
Out of the three big movies that have come out this year, all with cliffhangers, because Fast X also did. This is easily like the most satisfying ending. Even though I like Spider-Verse more, this one's like, okay, it's Like clearly there's more to tell, but yeah, there is an actual ending here that like, which is also kind of funny because people like audiences are still already going to walk into this knowing it's just a part one because it's literally in the title, unlike those other two movies. But it also just has probably the most satisfying ending out of the three.
Yeah, which it's funny enough. Like this is the one you could have not labeled part one.
Yeah,
of those three, if any, and just put to be continued, and people wouldn't have been like, "Oh, what the heck? I feel cheated." But yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, who's this movie for? If you like Mission Impossible, go see it. If you haven't seen it, and people around you are interested in going to it, I think you'll have a good time with it. And if it gets you into the franchise, I think that's a good thing. Excited for part two still, even though this was slightly disappointing for me. Don't think it's on the level of Fallout. I haven't seen the other ones in quite a while. So would need to rewatch those. And I want to rewatch this. I really do. I think I will like it more the second time. But
I'm hoping so.
But we are going to talk about things we really did like too, and spoilers. So stick around for that. Because I have things that I was like, I love this. So this is great. Yeah. And I want to break it down and why I liked it so much. So we're going to start talking about spoilers here in a second. Holden's going to give his rating.
My rating, I think I'm probably at like a 7.5, 7, something like that. Which, still a very good rating, but just not a 9 or a 10 like I was hoping.
Yeah, Holden's a harsh reviewer, so if you're like 7.5, he's a harsh guy. Okay, so we're gonna dive into spoilers again. Stick around for that. If you've seen it, if you have not, check the time codes in the description. Jump to What Are You Doing, and we will talk to you again soon. All right, spoilers starting right now.
Okay, spoilers for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Let's just start at the beginning with that sub sequence.
Yeah.
Great.
Sure.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
really,
a lot
really
of fun. A lot of fun.
So the Russians are in the sub. There was so much to like about that scene. Just the cold open, all these characters we don't know. We don't know what, the entity or what's going on. Obviously, this big like supercomputer looking thing. It's like, oh, what is this?
Well, we're kind of just led to believe at this beginning part that it's mostly just used as like a stealth thing, like
cloaking device. Sort of
deal. So that's just kind of what we assume it is, but. Yeah, when we find out that, they see this sub off in the distance and it turns out to not be real.
Well, yeah, so like you have the whole tension of, right, okay, we see this sub, all right, and the sub's getting closer to us. So like they know we're here, but that's impossible because we have this cloaking technology. Oh my gosh, they're shooting a torpedo at us right now. It went right through our countermeasures, and this is bad. We're going to counterfire a torpedo. And then when the torpedo's about to impact, just nothing. And that's just a great fake out because there's a lot of tension building up to that.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, they're supposed to be invisible. Somehow they're found. Now a torpedo's coming at them. The countermeasures didn't work. They're about to be blown up. Nothing happens. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what is happening now? And then the other sub, their torpedo is about to hit the other sub and that disappears. And you're like, what is happening? They're like, what? It must be some sort of glitch or something. And then all of a sudden their torpedo comes back to them. And you're thinking, why is any of this happening? It blows up the submarine and then you have the people floating out of it. One of the issues I would say with me for this movie, as I love that scene, that was great. We saw what happened and we know where the entity is.
Yeah. And a lot of people just don't.
And they don't. And like the movie's like, well, we got to find out what this key is for. It's like, well, as the audience member, we know what it's for because we literally saw it. So that suspension is not there for us.
They literally do not figure out until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
which she says like Sevastopol or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the sub and instead of the name of the city. And I was like, that tension wasn't there for me because we knew what the key was for and we knew where it went. So that was a weird thing why that was such a big deal. I mean, it makes sense for the characters, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, in reality, how would they know what this is for? But to have like it be such an important part of the movie for these characters to find out what it's for,
it would
with us being in the audience, with us being in the audience and already knowing, not being in Tom Cruise and the rest of his team's kind of shoes, Ethan Hunt's shoes, that we don't have the same feeling towards that. We don't feel that same sort of sense of urgency since we already know we're kind of just projecting his sense onto ourselves rather than actually being there and feeling that with him. And I would say the other thing kind of going along with that theme, and we can circle back to this stuff later, but is with his whole past with Gabriel. We kind of see glimpses of a flashback, but that doesn't mean anything to us.
No,
like as the audience, we're like, I don't really know. Like this is some pre-IMF thing that's happened.
It's not from a previous movie. It's not from like the first movie even or anything. It's just something that happened pre that movie that we're supposed to care about. But like we talked about it afterwards. I think it just would work better if that was like the intro, like if that was like a flashback or something.
And I think this idea was floated because apparently there was like, they thought about de-aging Tom Cruise for a scene, and Christopher McQuarrie shot it down, which in of itself, I don't have a problem with that. My issue is that we didn't experience that with Tom Cruise. We don't feel the revenge kind of that he wants to get against Gabriel. We don't feel that we know he wants it because you're telling us and you showed us, right? But we don't feel it. There's a disconnect between us and Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, we don't know who this woman is. We don't know what his relationship is to or what her relationship is to Ethan or anything. Just some vague person that he cared about that Gabriel killed.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like logically we can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
We understand it. We're not dumb. Logically we figured it out, but the emotional connection, there's it's not. It's a detachment, and it's harder for the audience to empathize with characters when we don't go through those experiences with them. They weren't someone who was kind of valuable to us or someone we cared about. So yeah, I think that was a disconnect. The sense of urgency with finding out what the key was for was also a disconnect. And that's where those things are like, it's not like it doesn't ruin the movie. It's just not, it doesn't elevate the movie. So it's not what, other great movies, you kind of feel right there with the characters. And this movie has scenes where you are right there with the characters feeling all this tension, and it's great and it works phenomenally. But for those kind of two threads that continue throughout the movie for quite a long time, I think there's that disconnect.
yeah, no, I totally agree.
Which personally is probably my biggest gripe with the whole movie is that, which again, not massive, but it is great.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the fact that the movie just kind of feels overcomplicated at times, because there's just a lot going on, and I feel like it's not always presented in the best way. One addition I would add is I feel like up until like the train sequence, every plan they have to like get the key is like, and like figure out where the sub is just too complicated. And like sometimes a little confusing.
Okay, I'm trying to. So but they explain. So I'm trying to think. Okay, they go to the airport, right? And their plan is to. That there are so many different plans in this that are complicated. Their plan is to there's the buyer, right? So they want to give it to the buyer. They want to sell the key to the buyer so they can first off verify that it's the genuine half. And then secondly, they're going to follow the buyer. They're going to figure out through the buyer what the purpose of the key is. But I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
I think that's a solid plan. I think it makes sense. And it just doesn't work.
And I feel like that one I'm okay with. And I'm not sure I can give specific examples, but I just remember some of the, like maybe how the plans change, maybe even in that scene. And then like later on, it just becomes really convoluted when that's really that right there is like their entire goal the whole time. But there's just so many other threads that they throw in there that make it a little twisty turny, but not really in like an intrigue way for me. Cause I'm just like, okay, who are we trying to get the key to? Who are we trying to buy the key from? Who are we trying to follow? There's just a lot happening. And that kind of feeds into what you said earlier about just like so many characters in it too, that I feel like,
I'm trying to remember. Did the authenticity of the key play a role at any moment? Like, was there ever some point in the airport, right? There was like a fake half.
At some point there was a fake half, but I can't remember when exactly that was.
And if it was that big of a deal, but yeah, I love the airport part. That was like my second, like that and the sub part for me were my two favorite parts of the movie, and also the train stuff at the end. I thought that was all great. The airport stuff, the tension there, that was phenomenal. I loved Benji going. I love the team aspect of it. Benji going in, hacking the cameras or whatever, or if that was Ving Rhames, just them working together. I thought Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames. Their chemistry is great as always.
I liked them deciding not to tell Ethan about the bomb.
Yeah, that was great too.
That was very interesting. I think it's just really good because obviously Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames are both like, they're not as physically capable as Tom Cruise, but they always find a good way of like making them entertaining and useful still. So yeah, I think having that kind of bomb plot just adds to the tension and is a good thing for them to do too.
And I thought it was interesting too that, you know, it being like an AI thing, Simon Pegg has to reveal information about himself that could be weaponized against him.
Yeah.
Later on. And then there ends up not being a bomb. So I'm like, okay, well, why not a bomb? What does that say about the AI? Does the AI really want to cause harm? Is it just out for self-preservation?
Yeah, the motivations of the AI are pretty unclear. I mean, the movie makes you want to think that it's like entirely antagonistic, and in a lot of ways it is, at least to get its own means to an end of its own goals.
Here's a thought, actually. Okay, theory. I like this a lot. It's gaining my appreciation for the movie already.
If it goes this way.
So no, this is okay. So I think the AI maybe has the same position of Tom Cruise, that like, I should not exist. I should not be controlled by anybody. This is not good.
Oh, that could be.
So hear me out. The reason it blows up the sub at the beginning is like, this is not good. Like if my, purpose, my computing gets in the wrong hands, that's going to cause a lot of damage. So I'm going to blow up this sub in the middle of the Arctic or Antarctic or whatever it was, ocean. Nobody's going to know where it is. That's going to be good for the greater good. Then people find the key. Don't want people finding the key, putting that together, because there's a chance they could take my artificial intelligence and control me. I don't know. That's pretty interesting to me. I think that works if you look back through the movie, and I really like that. And there we go. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta talk through a movie to start appreciating more. Now I'm like, let's go see this again. Let's do it. It's great. Let's go. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, whatever it's called, Part 1.
I like that theory a lot, and if it's true for the most part, I'll like it. But then I think it inherently gives me the problem where that probably won't be a reveal until later in the second movie, would be my guess, to keep the plot going. And then it's like, well, why were Tom Cruise working against it the whole time?
Tom Cruise doesn't even know what it was, right? He doesn't. Well, he knows it's the AI that can't fall into the wrong hands, right?
Yeah,
because Tom Cruise wants to destroy it.
He wants to destroy it, and I feel like his intentions are not that unclear throughout the movie. So then it's like, well, why is it in conflict?
So maybe it wants self-preservation, but doesn't want to get in the wrong hands.
Maybe, yeah.
Or Ethan Hunt getting the keys together would lead to the increased likelihood of someone getting their hands on it that shouldn't have their hands on it.
Maybe.
So I don't know.
We'll see.
Again, I need to rewatch this movie. I feel like I feel bad because I really feel like I do need to see this movie twice before I can talk about it really extensively and feel like I understand all the depth that is to be there. Which is like a good thing and a bad thing, right? So maybe like that should have been more prevalent the first time, but maybe it's just me. I need to see it a second time. But yeah, I know. I pro this movie. I like this movie. I think there's lots of good things to explore here, and the AI. What else are we talking about? We talked about the bomb. We talked about kind of just the introduction of Haley Atwell as a character. That was pretty good as like a thief.
Yeah,
just straight up thief who wants her crypto.
She's kind of like the character in the second movie. I don't know if you remember the second movie at all. The female lead in that one, who's Tandy Newton from Westworld, actually. Wow. Her character, I mean, she does different things, but she's also like a thief who runs into conflict with Ethan Hunt at first and then kind of gets mixed up in everything. And similar character, but yeah, still great. Haley Atwell. So
I do want to talk about Ilsa.
Mm-hmm.
She did not work for me in this movie.
Just
personally.
didn't need to be there. It was I felt like you didn't need her and Grace.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
so they need to have like this. They need to have some sort of weight to this, so they kill her off, right? So I understand if you're using her for that. I think I'm not going to say they didn't need her. I can see your argument for that. My thing is okay. They did the thing where she again they kill her off.
Yeah.
She comes back to life, and then they kill her off again. Like you
Like,
just
actually kill her off.
I hate when they do that because again we talked about the Secret Invasion. It just takes away the weight of anything happening. Like you cannot, especially with the same character, you cannot kill off a character, fake out, and then kill her again later in the same movie. Like that just doesn't work for me because it takes a lot of the weight out of that circumstance and situation because it's like, oh, you thought you experienced it beforehand, but you didn't actually. And I don't know. It seems it's just a trope that I just don't think works. And I don't think you needed it. It was not like, oh my gosh, they like this huge tension of like when she was first shot. Like, I just think you didn't need it at all.
Yeah. I guess to clarify my stance, like I like Ilsa in the previous two movies, and I think like if they expanded her role a bit in this movie, it would be fine. But like, I think a lot of what Grace does prior to like Ilsa's death is stuff that just Ilsa could have done, like, or whatever. Yeah. Like it was just kind of, it felt like they didn't give her anything to do, and she was just sidelined for most of it in favor of this new Grace character, which was just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. Then Ilsa dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then Tom Cruise is sad about that, and everybody's sad. But they're like, well, we have Grace now.
Yep.
She's the new girl on the team.
The new girl representation on the team.
Yeah, I just feel like they wanted to add weight to the story, so they killed off Ilsa. I don't feel like they needed to kill off Ilsa.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But
maybe Rebecca Ferguson wanted out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Before we move on too far, I had mentioned that there were some scenes that for me just went on a little too long. One of those being the Rome car chase, which to me is just, it's like inferior to the Fallout stuff, like the chases in Fallout, which I think are tighter, shorter, and just overall more fun to watch. The Rome one just goes on for too long, and it ties into what you said about like the gags in the car, where it's like, oh, that's just adding time to it that didn't need to be there. It wasn't that entertaining.
I liked the gag. It didn't need to be like, okay, they should have just started out in the little car thing.
Yeah.
That was fun when it's like the dun 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 dun, and he's like going to the safe car, and it's like got the nice sports car in front of him, and then it's just the little tiny whatever it was, Fiat or whatever. Like, that's fun. That's good. You have the handcuffs. That's fun. He's got to break off the steering wheel and walk away with it. That's all good and funny and great. I just didn't need a whole sequence before that leading up to that.
Well, and that sequence is where I was talking about the like what I think is a sex joke. It was like a performance joke, because he's like, I swear it's not usually like this. She's like, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I didn't get that sense at all.
Okay, that's fair. But anyway, another scene that's I also think is like too long tying into that is that we kind of skipped over. It was that scene in the boardroom with like the government people. I thought I liked that scene. Okay, I mean,
we haven't talked about Carrie Elways.
First of all, that's where Carrie Elways is introduced.
Forgot he was in this movie, so that was really exciting for me as a huge Saw fan. He was great. Carrie Elways was great. He's another guy who was just talking through his teeth the whole time.
That's true.
Carrie Elways.
He was really only in like 2 scenes,
but he was great. I love Carrie Elways. You can talk through your teeth anytime you want, Dr. Lawrence.
But yeah, I felt like that scene. I knew where it was going, because that guy comes in. He's just like this most suspicious looking guy, walking in.
For me, I was totally convinced that was like some form of the AI thing, because that's what they're
really?
like. They're like, the entity can take any form and infiltrate any system. Turns out Tom Cruise was the entity.
Yeah, Tom Cruise was just acting really weird.
Lots of mask shenanigans.
Lots of good mask
Good
shenanigans.
mask shenanigans. I love
gas
the shot.
masks too.
Yeah, I love the shot where they turn Grace into Vanessa Kirby's character. I thought that was really fun.
That was good. Yeah, they do. I feel like a lot of these, especially since like 4, they do really. Actually, even 3 does it good too. Or they just have like a really good way, like transition to like the guy in the mask being the actual actor and everything. It's something all of these movies have done really well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of fun to be had here. For me, yeah, a lot of the Rome stuff when they were definitely chasing like Gabriel and Ethan's lot of Tom Cruise running in this movie. Holy smokes.
The bit where he's like running in in Venice for like, it just feels like 20 or 30 seconds of an unbroken shot.
Venice,
yeah. And that bit where he's running in like that long take or whatever. It like that felt like there's that bit in 3 where he's just running through a marketplace for like 30 seconds straight, and it felt like that again. Yeah. Except there was no one around this time. But
that stuff, the Venice like chase, that was probably my least favorite action stuff.
Yeah, it was hard because it's so hard to get a sense of where anyone was at any moment, because it's just the winding streets of Venice and like the canals and everything, and it felt like Grace and I know that Tom Cruise was led astray by the AI or whatever, but Grace and Ilsa and Gabriel were at this one part, and it felt like it didn't take them that long to get where they were, however they ran there or whatever. And then Tom Cruise is like running the entire time, just full Tom Cruise speed. And even after he's led astray, it felt like he should have gotten there a lot quicker. And he's
led astray, so it doesn't matter how fast you're running at that point.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was just it felt like it was hard to get a like sense of like space and distance in that. But I don't know.
Yeah. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't as good as stuff in the other movies.
And there's before that there was the whole nightclub thing, which you fell asleep for, right?
Yeah, there was like a 5-minute period I dozed off when they were talking, so I'm like, hold on, you're gonna have to tell me what happened here, because I was just
were you awake when it was the club is the AI or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Which was kind of silly, but
it's whatever.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I liked it, but yeah, no, Jimmy was fall asleep during that, which is fine. It was kind of probably the most boring scene of the movie, because it was just people being like, I want the key, but I actually want the key.
Yeah, but I want the key.
I want the key. Why do you want the key? Well, I want the key because I don't want to die or whatever.
Why do you want the? Well, I want the key to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the train sequence.
Yes.
Because we're gonna have to wrap.
That's part of the movie probably
pretty soon, but the train sequence is fun, especially towards the end when the train's actually crashing. But leading up to that, you got the mask shenanigans. Grace is on her own. Ethan's trying to catch up. They like just telegraphed the jump coming because of the way they marketed it so much. But the jump was fun. It wasn't like, it was cool. It just, there wasn't a lot of tension with it, because it's all just over in a moment. So like the stunt is impressive, but it's not. My favorite Mission Impossible set piece is still the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, because it's just like, one, Tom Cruise is actually hanging off the side of the Burj Khalifa, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
And then you can like feel yourself in that. And he's climbing it, and then the gloves go out, and there's so much tension within that stunt, or even the helicopter chase and all that stuff from Fallout. This is just like there's
the Halo jump.
The Halo jump, right? That's a great one. There's no there's no storytelling happening when the jump is happening, I guess. It's just kind of like, oh crap, you need to jump, and they set it up, they do it. It's good. Like, I like the idea. I think it's really fun. I think it's a great part of the movie. But from like a set piece or like a storytelling wise, it's just there's not anything really happening during the jump itself. It's more like build up to the jump, see the jump, oh, the jump looks cool, and then kind of the end result of that. Whereas like, Burj Khalifa, like the storytelling's happening, there's a lot of tension there as it's going on. The helicopters too, he's hanging on the rope, he falls down, like that's just like gets your heart rate going. Where this, he jumps off, oh my gosh, that's really high. And then it's kind of over.
Well, there's really also, I think part of it is there's no real satisfying end to it either. Like for all of those
In my opinion, I did not find the end of that satisfying.
No.
I found it really convenient.
Yeah, in all the rest of those, that you kind of see the end of the stunt or whatever, the Halo jump. You get to see them land on top of that building, and the helicopter chase. Obviously, he eventually gets up into the helicopter, and all that stuff happens. But here, it's like he jumps off, and then it cuts away for a couple minutes, and then he just crashes into the train. Like and not that I think this is necessarily safe or he should have done this. I don't know how he would have with this stunt, but I was kind of expecting like him to land on the train or something, or at least to show him get real close to it or something.
It would have been a lot more impressive if he landed on the train. Now,
yeah. But
how do they do that?
Yeah. I'm not saying, he should have done that, but because I certainly couldn't do that.
Visually, it would have been a lot more satisfying to see that.
Yeah, I just think we needed like a satisfying kind of end to it, because he jumps off, he floats, and then he's just suddenly in the train. That's basically how
I
it
think
goes.
there are going to be a subset of people out there who thought that was a satisfying conclusion. Again, it just didn't work for me. I don't think that is an objective bad thing about the movie. It's just subjectively, this is why it didn't work for me as well as these other stunts did in another movie. So if it does work for you, great. Again, I'm jealous. Wish it would work for me. I just was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. And then all of a sudden, he just happens to go through the one place where that one guy was standing, and he like breaks through the wall.
I didn't understand. He's parachuting.
He's like okay.
Yeah.
And then it was fun when like the parachute was like taking him and he was like taking guys out kind of with that. I do thought it was like, Ethan Hunt is always kind of just like so competent at what he's doing, at least from my memory. Is there times where he's like incompetent?
No, he's pretty good in like
that felt more like a like we just watched Indiana Jones, like The Last Crusade. You got Sean Connery and Marcus Brody, those characters kind of like accidentally doing these things, and that felt more like a character accidentally like taking people out. Like, so if it was Simon Pegg's character or something, like running into people with the parachute on an accident, that's that would work better for me. I still like it. I think it's very creative. It just felt a little weird because it was Tom Cruise and that he's just so like usually just really good at what he does.
But yeah, then we get to like the actual train stuff, which is a very fun sequence just in general. You have the conversation between Grace, who's disguised as Vanessa Kirby, and Kittredge, which I like. It's a good conversation. I think Vanessa Kirby does a really good job of like playing into Haley Atwell. Like, I think there's a lot of good, performance there. But also I'm like her brother's the bodyguard, and Vanessa Kirby has like very distinct blue eyes, and Haley Atwell has just brown eyes. Like, I don't understand how he's not picking up on things.
I didn't notice.
Oh, okay.
He's oblivious like me, apparently. A lot of like, Polyjuice Potion kind of esque things, Bellatrix and Gringotts and the Deathly Hallows sort of deal. I that was a lot of fun. The dramatic tension there. Again, you get the scene with Carrie Elway's, I'm the only one who knows where where the sub is located.
And then Gabriel's like, okay, and just kills him.
That's where I'm like, I'm like, dude, did you not see The Dark Knight Rises? This is not a good idea. So you're the only one who can do something. He's like, you're sure? You're the only one. Yeah, I am the only one. Yeah. I'm telling you, it goes with my AI theory. I do like the idea that Gabriel was getting like all his communication from the AI somehow, of like, the probability of this. Like, he's Paris, you're going to betray me based on, the probability of outcomes here.
He was also snuck onto the train in like a weird coffin thing with like a gas mask. And that seemed to indicate to me that like he was communicating with the AI in there. Cause like it had like the AI like little circle thing in it. So I don't know if like he has constant communication or if he just, hibernates for a bit and talks to it. I don't know.
At the beginning of the movie, I just thought Gabriel was like a projection of the AI. And maybe that still is the case. I don't know.
To an extent, maybe.
But I did like the idea of like Ving Rhames sitting down and be like, Ethan, the AI wants you, like they picked out Gabriel because they know that if you do this, like that will help them. If you kill Gabriel, who's the only person who knows whatever, where the sub is or what the key opens, or I can't remember what Gabriel knows and what else. Just because there's so much going on in this movie. But, if you kill him, that will jeopardize the mission. Like either like two of the outcomes it's looking for is like you will die or you will make this stupid choice. And so Tom Cruise doing it. The sequence on top of the train was great.
Yeah, that was
and
awesome.
in the tunnel, he's crawling towards him with the knife. That's great.
Very good.
Nobody took a big beam to the face, though,
No.
like some other big blockbuster that came out recently that I don't want to spoil, which was hilarious. But the standout part for me from this train sequence is when the train's coming down, and very Uncharted 2-esque, but I think in a way that enhances that.
Yeah,
Is how they have to go through each cart and like the different kind of layouts of each cart. Obviously, kind of just more generic to the first one, but then they get into the kitchen. You get
that was fun.
The grease going everywhere, or the oils and stuff. You have the stove lighting fires and this fireball coming and all that, and they got to get through all this food, and it's just crazy looking.
And it just keeps going too. Like it's every time they think they're safe, it's like, oh, this other one's gonna fall down.
Yeah,
too.
which was great. That was awesome. That was just again, like we talked about the classic Indiana Jones, where it's like keeps going one more thing, and it keeps and it doesn't just not for the sake of drawing the scene out, but like it's one more thing, and it keeps you excited on the edge of your seat rather than just drawing out the moment. Like there's enough difference in between the challenges for the protagonist. And then you have the place with the piano. Yeah. Where just the piano just and they have to jump across the other side.
That was very good. Cool. That was cool.
And it all looked very, very good too. Obviously the famous, or not the famous, the shot that's in the trailer where like the zero gravity moment.
Oh yeah,
down.
That was very
all
cool.
just definitely CG like plates and stuff, but it still looks really cool.
Yeah.
Probably not all, but a lot of them are. But didn't take me out of it. It looks really cool moment. I like it. I'm sure whatever they did with the actors was real and the train car. It'd be interesting to know how they filmed all that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a really interesting.
Did they actually crash a train?
Yeah, the General did back in the 20s.
The Fugitive did back in the 90s.
They did, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So, didn't look like it. That was definitely CGI.
Yeah, it did look CG.
But probably better for the environment to not just crash a train into the water. Otherwise, a lot of good stuff. Of course, they get the key at the end. Gabriel doesn't have it once he jumps onto that truck. And I do like that because it's like, okay, the AI would know the exact moment you do need to jump off from this place. So doing that. I just think it was weird that, like, unless I missed it, like he didn't have like an earpiece or something. Or, he had that watch, but I was like, show me some sort of communication. Yeah. Unless he is literally just the AI itself. So I don't know. Which could be.
Maybe as a brain implant, Jimmy.
Brain implant. Tesla brain implant.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably wrap this up. I'm looking forward to Dead Reckoning Part 2. I want to see this again. I really do. I think I'm going to like it more the second time. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, Holden, any other final thoughts you got?
I don't think so. No.
All right, we're going to dive into our final segment of the show, which, of course, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy, this week. So, like I said, I rewatched Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Fallout, both very good. Rogue Nation I had forgotten a lot about, honestly, but it was very cool. That underwater sequence in that movie is really good.
Great.
That's awesome.
Really good.
It's probably the best part of that movie. But both movies
Not him
great.
hanging off an airplane?
That's also cool. I remembered that sequence ending differently than it did. That was like new to me almost how that scene ended.
It looked really wonky when he like got into the airplane. It's like very clearly done in After Effects.
Yeah, probably. But that was still great. And I forgot to mention it with the last episode, but I watched Asteroid City, the new Wes Anderson movie, last week when I was in Lincoln. Very good, really good. I think that it's probably my favorite Wes Anderson movie in a while. I don't know, probably since Grand Budapest, which that's only like a couple, 2 or 3 movies since then, but. It's very good. It's very funny and weird. There's like one moment in particular that if you've seen the movie, you know it. It is so bizarre that when it happens, just the theater was just laughing, and it was a very, very good moment. It was kind of just very good audience moment. But yeah, in general, and it's a very meta movie too, and the way it presents itself. I didn't know the movie was going to be what it was, because the trailers kind of present something a little bit different, but it's very interesting. Very good performances and great cast. So yeah, see it if you like Wes Anderson movies. And then I think that's just it in terms of movies, TV.
It's only been a few days.
Yeah, it's only been a few days. I've been moving to a new place, so that's been taking up a lot of my time. Aside from that, in TV, just probably just a couple episodes of like Abbott Elementary or something. I don't know. And video games, just been playing a little bit more Ghostwire. Once again, not a ton, but yeah.
Sweet. Last week, I totally forgot to mention that I finished Barry. Again, I really liked the last season. The second to last episode in particular was one of my favorite episodes of the whole show. Mm-hmm. I think it's hilarious. Some of the jokes they do with Henry Winkler and NoHo Hank. I forget the actor's name right now. Anthony Carrigan. Yeah. Both hilarious in that second to last episode. And then the finale is just like, there was like set up so well, and it takes a lot of like big swings in the finale, and they just did not work for me. Like I was like,
interesting.
Ooh, I did not like that. I did not like how they did this. But I give them credit for taking a big swing. It doesn't ruin like the show for me. I was just like, oh, well, that's too bad. Because like I said, I really enjoyed that second to last episode. So the last one being a little bit of a oof for me was whatever. The other thing I did really in the last few days is I rewatched Barbarian.
Oh, nice.
Which, of course, is my favorite movie from last year. It is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It is giving Saw a run for its money, which is saying a lot because I love Saw. But the reason I did that is I really want to make a video about Barbarian and just go through everything I love about it, because I think it is like not only is just entertaining as all get up, I think it's a really well made movie too that does a lot of things very intentionally to enhance the story and its themes from the filmmaking perspective, whether it's just the writing or the actual like shots used, music, all that stuff, the editing. It is really, really well done, I think. And I would like to do a video of that. It's just not going to happen for a while because I'm going to be out of town for 10 days and we'll have zero time to do it. Which we should probably say a little programming update. So next week is Barbenheimer. Obviously. Barbenheimer. Our next episode is going to be a little bit later. Unfortunately, it'll probably be like the next Tuesday or Wednesday.
So nearly 2 weeks away.
Yeah, from here. So like 10, 11 days from now, we'll get to that next episode to you. And it will not look like this. If you're watching the video podcast, we're going to be having to do it remote because Holden will be out of town, but he'll be able to record. So we'll try to make ourselves look presentable. There will still be a video version, hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything works. It just won't be in our normal setup that we've been doing the last several episodes. So little programming note for you there. But Barbenheimer next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Very excited.
Heck
About
yeah.
time.
Here we go. So look forward to that.
I got my tickets.
Doing
a double feature.
I have no idea when I'm going to be able to see it. I will see them. We'll get our review to you. And we'll also talk about Secret Invasion then as well. So that is Barbenheimer. That's coming to you soon. Otherwise, Holden, what else can they know?
If you want to leave a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at TOMPpodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. I believe that's it, Jimmy.
If it doesn't make a difference to you, the greatest and best way to support our channel is to watch the stuff on YouTube, podcast included. If you can, that watch time helps us in the YouTube algorithm. If not, we just appreciate you listening in. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And until next time, adios, pantalones.
Love you.